Hi, I'm Steve Rose. I've been a chef for 35 years, proud owner of the greenest restaurant in the entire San Francisco Bay Area, and farmer here at Rose Ranch. We do things green around here though. What sets me apart is that green is not just a buzzword like a lot of people use. Green is an operative word, and it's really easy to do. I'm gonna share with you my secrets on how to do this at home. We're gonna have fun, and living green, living truly green, is really a blast. I really believe that people want to learn how to live this way, they just don't know how to go about it, and that's the whole purpose of the show, is to teach people how to do that. And I'm gonna show you how to do it. Welcome to the Organic Rose. I cannot believe that this is the end of season 1 of the Organic Rose. This is our wrap-up show, so we're gonna visit some different places, some guests that we've been with during the season, and I've enjoyed doing this show. I hope you've enjoyed viewing it. So let's get on to this episode. Florian, tell me about the Region 1 competition.
It was really great. It was like, for me, it was my first time competing in a culinary competition with friends and professionals, which was really a cool thing because I'd never done anything like that. I just cooked for fun and at school. So it was a new thing for me.
Awesome. And Harrison?
I really enjoyed regionals because it was taking place at our own kitchen, which is where we've been practicing the entire time. So you could say we definitely had the home field advantage with that. We were able to gather utensils, ingredients, or other equipment like a lot quicker than the visitors, you would say, who were arriving there.
Yeah.
So just that little advantage really made all the difference, and we were able to sweep the top 5 spots.
That's pretty amazing with the culinary side and the commercial baking side to be able to sweep both of those levels of competition. And then after that, those 9 students had the opportunity to go to San Diego, right, to represent, to compete for California at the San Diego Culinary Institute. Tell me about that.
That was really a blast. Like, that was just a fun trip. We got to go to San Diego, have a great time there. And for me, it was like really big improvement because I got 4th at regionals and then ended up getting 2nd at state. So that was something important for me.
And what about you?
It was just a great experience all around. We were able to just have everyone come together and collaborate on new ideas, different menu items, and through all the practice and the grit that we've gone through, we were able to sweep the top 3 spots.
Thanks so much for an awesome opportunity to be able to work with you guys and coach you guys for this competition for Skills USA. It was an incredible opportunity. But you know what? I think that the reason you won that is because I brought Oso, the puppy, into the kitchen for good luck.
That's for sure.
And you guys all petted him, and I'll be damned if you didn't end up sweeping everything. And I think it's because of that 4-legged wonder.
It was good luck charm.
Yeah, I think so, for sure. So thank you so much, and I appreciate the opportunity to work with you guys, and hopefully we'll be able to do some things in the future.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chef.
Thanks, Harrison.
Thank you, Chef.
Thanks, Lauren. I've worked with these guys all year getting ready for this competition. Let's have a look at what we've done together. Soon you'll see them breaking down some dead chickens, and then they're going to go ahead and create what's called an airline breast, which is old school. And you guys, I've told you that. That's when they used to feed people on the airplane, they would always serve an airline breast. And an airline breast is a chicken, half of a chicken that's been boned out with the first wing joint still attached to it. So they are going to break the chicken down as well and then go ahead and braise it. And you're going to do pan sauce, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell you where to cut.
Yeah,
It just gives, exactly.
The fat streaks.
Yep.
That's the easiest part to cut through because there's usually just cartilage connecting it there instead of trying to saw through the bone.
Very nice.
And then the best part with the leg and the thigh is that there's this white line of fat, which is the perfect map spot to separate the bone, the chicken leg from the thigh.
You've taught these guys well.
Yeah. The chicken tells you where it wants to be cut up.
Yeah. Good job, you guys.
So then probably the hardest part I would say for cutting up the chicken is deboning the thigh.
And this again was part of the rules of the competition. So in any competition that we go to, we have to follow what they're asked to do. So it's great that these two have learned so many different ways to cut up a chicken, so they have different pieces that they can prep and cook.
And you have, remember, you've got saute pans heating up behind us as well.
So when you guys were down in San Diego, what was the hardest part during the competition? Because I could not be in the kitchen with you, which was the hardest part for me.
The hardest part by far was the induction burners. Because the entire time we've been practicing here with burners, so you can tell the level of heat that you're given.
Yeah, the gas.
Yeah, you can see the flame.
And with the induction burner, like you can put your hand on it and it will not burn you at all because it conducts heat through the metal. So it was practically impossible to tell how hot it was. It just gave you a number scale from 1 to 20, and that was very difficult.
And how did you like only having one burner?
I hated it because you had to use your time wisely. And
Yeah, that was
very
a challenge. That was a challenge.
extremely difficult.
I think that was probably, I'm sure that was on purpose.
Well, it was just the way they operated the
Yeah.
Culinary Institute there. But that was a huge challenge, and so many of the students, their timing was off because it was a lot to have to do with timing. And our students had notes. They had practice with only one burner, even though it was just gas, not induction. So at least they challenged themselves to do that, because I think a lot of the students were practicing with their whole stove. Well, it's so different once you
Right.
get
Well,
there.
it's almost like having to work with one hand tied behind your back, right?
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
it is so different. And having 20 people in the kitchen and, trying to focus.
So yeah, got the chicken breast right here. Got the skin intact.
Nice.
And then the airline breast right here.
And then turn it over. Where are you going to pull off the back here?
Gonna pull off the chicken tender, which could be used for a garnish for the soup, for the other menu items, because that requires a chicken garnish. And got a little meat left on that could have been taken off for extra points.
So that's what they're going to look at too. They're going to look at, how much of the meat you've gotten off the carcass.
Correct.
And, one of the great things about having Steve here was that the students are really concentrating on not wasting anything. Because when he talks about that's money, that these students did not waste one thing at the competition. And we saw a lot of the students wasting and not caring about the ingredients. But they've been really taught to respect all the ingredients, no matter if it's parsley or a steak, that they have to make sure that they know that costs money.
So what is this? Dirt?
Compost.
Really?
Really. It's a good thing. You use it for your vegetable garden, your house plants, your outdoor trees and shrubbery, what have you, and it's just amazing stuff. We're going to actually, today, I want to go ahead and revisit Jack's worm farm. And let's just kind of take a look into his worm farm and his operation and what he does, because what he creates is truly magical.
Great.
It's just this whole circle.
Right.
Oh, that's really hot.
Yeah, so this is our primary composter. When the manure comes from the dairy, we put it in here, and you can see how hot that gets. That's 152 degrees. And you've got your hand up there. If you left your hand there, it'd burn it. And steam is coming off now. We're trying to cool down the bin a little bit, so we'll blow air up through the floor. And on a moist day like today, you can see the condensation that blows off with the compost. So
It's pretty amazing.
yeah, this is like a primary fermenter or a primary compost bin. So we get the first weed seed kill, the first pathogen kill here, and then we'll move it to the next bin. Actually, it'll go to that third one that's empty right now. So we'll move this today or Monday morning over to the next one. So it's a rotational system, and we'll feed next week out of the one that's right there, and then the following week this will be food for the worms. So, and then we'll get new food in. So it's just constantly rotating 4 sets of bins around so that we have enough food to feed the worms here and to feed the worms over at the worm farm.
So how long does it sit in here for until it's ready to feed?
A week or so,
Yeah.
a little longer, and then another week or so in the other one, and then it will have cooled off enough so that when we feed it onto the bed, that it won't heat up the worm bed and kill the worms. So, but there will still, so the dance is, we want to have enough food value there for the worms, but we don't want to have so much heat that it heats the bed up. So we're taking some of the heat out, but we don't want to take all the heat out because that's food. It's balance. You can see these beds were just fed yesterday and the worms are already up into it. And then the worms will work on it for 60 days. What we fed yesterday will come out the bottom. It's a continuous thing of feeding and cutting, but you can see the beds are down a little bit now. We're cutting a little more than we're feeding because we have such high demand for material, but usually they're up at the top. And what we feed will come out the bottom in 60 days, and then we'll screen it and sell it. So the worms work on it for a minimum of 60 days.
And they continuously work their way up to the food, correct?
Right, exactly. They're like teenagers. They want to be fed and they want to be watered, and they'll stick at home and they party and they have a great time. And so the fresh food, they want the fresh food. We've seen that they'll let the babies get the easy stuff, and some of the adults will go down a little more to get some of the harder stuff.
Interesting.
But this time of year they're dropping off a lot of little egg cells, and a couple worms pop out after 30 days. So that's kind of the process, and then we'll do a field ready blend where we just vacuum it up and put it in a bag, and they use that to plant, and then we also will screen it. We've got a lot of propagators that are starting to use it. We have soil blending companies, large soil blending. They come in a big Walmart-sized truck now. We'll sell 44 yards at a time. So this little worm farm has really grown, and that will be the screened material. And then we also have a product that comes out the end, overs, and people will use that for orchid mix or for putting on a vineyard in kind of a rougher style. So, you know, I think that's so important, that you got to trust where you are. And I knew when it was time for me to stop flying, I knew it was time for me to get involved with this. I had no idea that it would turn out like this, but I just knew I wanted to follow where it led. I wanted to go down that path.
So Steve, what are we drinking?
2013 Rose Ranch Cabernet Sauvignon.
Super. Can we take a taste?
Yeah, salute.
Good, salute. You know, it was so much fun doing this. You know, we've got a great group. I think we all learned something. And the price is right. We get some good wine. So it's been great. What do you think?
I think it's been a great experience. I enjoy, you know, like being in the kitchen. I enjoy being in the bodega and crafting these wines. What I want to do is kind of do a recap. Let's take a look at the episode of this season in the Vino Amigos winemaking.
Good. Let's do it.
We'll have a look. Salute again. We have
Salute.
to taste again.
We have to taste again.
So I'm sitting here with Mike and Jimmy, and we're talking about our winemaking processes. Mike, tell us a little bit about, you know, why you're such a stickler for sanitation and what we don't put in the wine. And Jim, kind of touch on a little bit about what you like, what your favorite parts about, you know, why do you come up here from San Francisco to make these incredible wines?
Let's go really quickly through the production process and talk about actually crushing the grapes, pressing, racking, kegging, quickly.
Well, we do all of that except for the harvesting, right?
Right. And we night harvest.
Not me.
No, but we do night harvest just because once the grapes are removed off the vine, the fermentation starts. So when we night harvest, the fermentation doesn't start as quickly.
It's frozen. And part of what freezes it is the sulfites that are on the grapes themselves, the natural sulfites. And by doing it at night, the temperature stays low and it doesn't start, the fermentation process, the metabolic process doesn't occur until you hit the heat. And when the guys go out there and they work their tails off, and I know you say that I don't do it, but you've done it before too. You get out there with the knife and you're cutting the clusters off. It's a lot of hard work. And you get your hands up in there, and at the end of the day, there's a lot of acids in these wines, and your hands are blistering a little bit.
Spider bites, acid burns, blisters, cuts, whatever.
So we crush, run the grapes through the crusher, destemmer, put them into fermentation vessels.
Well, which are macro bins.
Right.
And we say macro bins, but you're looking at a half a ton per bin, which a half a ton is about a barrel, which makes a macro bin such a natural vessel, because you harvest, we fill it up all the way up to the top, the guys do, and then we crush it, we put it back into the same macro bin, and that bin has got a half a ton of must, and the fermentation process starts. Here at Rose Ranch, we're so fortunate that there's a lot of yeast just living here in the valley, and most of it's because of a ton of the professional winemaking that's happening here. So the colonies of yeast are living year-round in this valley.
So we just pull yeast out of the air.
Well, there's yeast on the grapes, as you know,
right?
And there's also tons of yeast from all the winemakers that are in the area. It's out in the open, and it just starts fermenting on day one. And the guys punch every day for about 7 to 8 days. We get up to about 13.5% alcohol, and then we press. And then we press right back into the macro bins, and then we pump it into the barrels. And it sounds really simple, it's really short, but it's a lot of heavy lifting,
It's
a lot of hard
heavy
work.
lifting. It's not rocket science, but it's, I think a lot of it is done from the heart.
That's right.
The heart and the palate, and that's why we do it. And it's pretty damn easy. I mean, once we get it, we're lucky. We have a great facility to work in, and we have a great crew around us to support us.
We've got good friends. We make small mistakes. We've made some mistakes.
Especially that rosé. Remember that rosé?
The rosé where someone failed to sanitize the pump.
I think it was Mikey.
Well, whoever it was, that person's, that person's forgiven. But it was a good lesson. I mean, these basic steps. Good product, good fruit, trustworthy company and colleagues.
And sanitation. Sanitation is huge. There's not a professional winemaking organization that's making, let's say, 10,000 cases a year of a particular varietal that isn't all about the sanitation, because they start losing their capital investment when they don't use good sanitation, to the point where they go a little overboard with some of the preservatives they put in the wine.
And I think a little overboard is a mild term. I think it's way overboard.
And what we do is keep it at very, very low, reasonable levels, no sensory perception whatsoever, just to keep the wine safe. That's all we do. The only caretaking we do on the sanitation level, we clean our equipment, we clean our pumps, we clean our lines, we clean our barrels, and we keep the wine, we give it just enough preservative that is at the smallest levels, just to make it through the season without a bacteria taking over.
Thank you, boys.
Josephine Argo, her son Jim Argo, what was it like being in front of all those cameras?
Well, it was fascinating. It was interesting the way it all worked to put it together. And I was prepared, well prepared for everything, brought everything. Hi. Okay, you want to come too?
It was just amazing. I mean, what you did on camera, you were just so relaxed. And I thank you so much for sharing that recipe of your peppers. Your roasted peppers are just amazing.
The old peppers recipe from Italy.
Yeah. From your mother, right?
My mother. Yeah.
And what about having your son Jim on the set? Was that necessary, or?
Well, he was a little moral support, I would say.
Thanks, Mom.
So we're going to go ahead and revisit that episode so I can get the recipe right, because I have issues with it. I have problems with it. I don't follow the directions.
That's right. You certainly didn't.
So we're going to revisit that now, and let's see how you actually do it.
Okay. And see, by having a thick pepper, you get a lot of nice slices. But if you have a thin pepper, you don't have any slices, and it doesn't come out as good. And that you work until you get all these peeled.
Jim, get over here. You got to help peel.
And Piemonte is in the northern region of Italy, near France. And I have relatives, lots of relatives, aunts, cousins, and so I've gone many times. And You always find good food in Italy. No matter where you go, the people are just, the hospitality is overwhelming. So now we'll get the peppers put
All right.
together,
It's
okay?
time to get to work.
Now,
So what can I do to start with?
now we're going to start with, we're going to get the oil in the pan.
So that's
Okay, put it on low.
nice organic olive oil.
Olive oil. Then we put our garlic in the
Oh,
pan.
put it all in. I like garlic.
Put it all in there. That's good.
Atta
Put the
girl.
garlic in there. A little bit of red pepper flakes.
Nice and spicy.
Just a little bit. And then we put our anchovies.
And just whole like that? Just the
Well,
fillets?
They'll
Okay.
they'll disintegrate as you.
Well, they'll end up melting, huh?
They'll end up melting. Okay.
And you've got some fire going here,
All
so
right. So we'll put that on there. So while that's going, we'll have the peppers and we'll layer the peppers, and then we put a layer of pepper and a layer of the anchovies and the garlic, and you build it up until you've got your anchovies and garlic, and then we'll serve them on good French bread, sourdough French bread. And that is an antipasto that you usually eat before your main meal. So now we'll have our bell peppers.
so I'm just going to stir them up a
Well,
little
they
bit
got to
here.
cook a little bit.
Yeah. So are we going to cut the peppers at all, or are we just going to leave them whole like that?
No, we're going to leave the peppers just the way they are.
Okay, so we probably need a platter to layer them on.
Yeah.
And how long did these roast for?
These roasted for about 45, 50, but you got to watch them when they get shriveled up like I showed you. That's why I brought them cooked, shriveled up, because that's the point where you want them. And then they get cold. And also you could steam them in a paper bag.
Oh, to sweat them.
Sweat them in a
Yeah.
paper bag. But I just take them out of the pan, out of the oven, in the pan, leave them in the pan, put a towel over them, let them get cold, and then they're easy to put.
It's a clean towel, right?
A clean towel over them, yes. And then they get cold. You can peel them easily, like you show here.
Yeah, they peeled very nicely.
Yeah.
So we're going to, the marinade again is garlic,
Garlic, anchovies,
anchovies.
and olive oil,
Okay.
and a little bit of pepper flakes, and a little bit of salt,
Okay.
and a little bit of pepper.
Oh man, this is going to be spicy. I like that.
Okay. And then when this is finished cooking, then I'm going to put a tablespoon of vinegar. Where'd my
There you go, right in front of you. Right here.
Oh, okay.
You're lucky it wasn't a snake.
It's got to cook first, though. It's got to
Okay.
cook. This takes about
So-
this takes about 10 minutes to cook,
Okay.
Steve.
So I have the fire up.
Is that your
Yeah.
lucky pot, Josephine?
This pot was given to me by my mother-in-law. I was married over 70 years. It must be 75 years old, this pot. But I only use it for when I make the anchovies, because it's a nice, heavy pot.
So all the flavors of the anchovies are in that pot.
They're in that pot. They made a lot of red peppers.
How many do you think?
Oh, gosh, I don't know, Steve.
A lot.
A lot.
A hell of a lot.
A lot.
This is where it all began, the Organic Rose. Arthur Jassow was a very good friend of mine, and he in fact was the catalyst that put this show together and got it started. He put me in contact with the production company, the directors and the producers, the camera people, and he was just an amazing man. He had quite a bit of experience doing short films and documentaries. He came into our restaurant quite a bit. I'm going to dedicate this entire season to Arthur Jassow. We love you, we miss you, and I wish you were here to help out, but we're going to close out this season thanks to Arthur Jassow.